Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. In this series of episodes, we are discussing the institution that is the armed forces and how it has influenced the history of Poland and the United Kingdom.
We also have an example of the Ukrainian ambassador to Germany at the time, Andriy Melnik, who stated that he met with the Minister of Finance just a few days into the war, I think on the first or second day, and he asked for German help, for German weapons, and he received a response that this will all be over in a few days anyhow, so there's no point of sending you any weapons.
Very similar. It's odd how often ambassadors are completely, or governments completely out of touch. I mean, very similar in some ways to the messages Roosevelt was getting from Joseph Kennedy, who was ambassador, American ambassador to the UK at the time of the Second World War, saying, oh, well, you know, they're going to be defeated, you know, it's not worth bothering, that sort of thing. But fortunately, in both the case of Ukraine and the case of the United Kingdom, we had leaders at that time who were made of sterner stuff.
And if we look at the Second World War again, going back to ammunition production and wartime production, of course, Great Britain fought valiantly and they bought the wider Western alliance a lot of time, so to say. But we must admit that a large part of the war was won by American industrial production.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about that.
And not just for allies in Europe, but the Soviet Red Army would have never been able to hold the Germans back in 1941, 42, and 43 if it wasn't for the American ships that just sent enormous amounts of everything. It was just extraordinary.
Really, I think the Second World War was a major leap forward for the United States economy.
Oh yeah.
But it's quite interesting, and we shouldn't ignore Germany. You know, I was surprised when I read that German peak industrial production was actually reached as late as 1942, which is extraordinary.
Yes, yes.
Despite the war going on, that's when they were still able to keep increasing production.
One of the big mistakes was that they didn't switch over to wartime production until very late on. There is this famous speech of, do you want total war? We can give you total war. But this was late on in the war. So certainly if they would have used that approach from 1938, it would have looked very different. And today, when we look at this industrial production in America, this is also a problem. They haven't really entered this phase at all. There were a couple of good articles recently written about the war in Ukraine, and they talk about the return to industrial scale war. And there they said that simply the West has, over the past few decades, and outsourced is the wrong word, but they have outshored their industrial production to countries such as China, Vietnam, India, and so on, to such a degree that now building up these industries for wartime production is also a process that will take a lot of time. And unfortunately, the decision has still not been made.
Yes, we seem to be blessed, and blessed, of course, I'm using that in an ironic sense, by particularly, in many cases, stupid politicians. I look at things that go on in the UK, and it's just horrific, the short-sighted thinking. You may remember at the time of the COVID problem, the government built, or helped finance build, a huge new laboratory outside Oxford for creating vaccines. Since then, the government has now decided to sell this off. You know, this was supposed to be something which would keep us going in the future if we ever need it again, as we no doubt will. I mean, these short-sighted decisions and you know, not having enough kit. I know that it's expensive, but the governments of whatever colour can always find money to waste on their pet projects. But basic things which most people agree with, like we have to defend the nation, you know, then they always seem to regard this as something which they can cut.
Self-sufficiency is an important component for any state and army. You can't completely rely on all your weapons being produced on faraway continents, or even things that you consider to be of civilian use primarily, but in wartime everything is needed. Now in the Ukraine, for example, we can see components for repairing the power grid.
Adam, sorry, I'm just going to have to pause you there. As usual, the clock has defeated us, but we'll pick it up next time. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not, if you join us next time, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story here on Poland Daily History. In the meantime, thank you for watching.